Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Dev Marketer channel. This is the channel where we help you build and grow your next great idea. Now today's video is going to be what I think will be very useful for you guys, and we're going to talk about adding a Google ReCaptcha form to any form that we have in Laravel or any other application, but we'll be using Laravel today. And I think this will be really useful for you guys. This allows you to basically have a public-facing form on your website that prevents robots and spam bots from submitting the form for you. So this is really good if you got a contact form or you've got a authentication form, like someone signing up for your website, or any other form like that where you don't want just robots randomly signing up or randomly sending you emails through a contact form or something like that. So this is a really good way to do it. Now this is obviously sponsored by Google, which has a lot of benefits. It's really well maintained. It works really well. It's really fast. It also is supported in like almost every language imaginable. You can actually change the language on this, and it's supported in Arabic, in Icelandic, and everything. It's just, I've already looked it up. It's in almost every single language available thanks to the fact that it's from Google. So this is really well supported. This is probably the best ReCaptcha form out there that you can use, and it also works really easy. So you can see here how it works. You just click the checkbox. So, slogan is tough on bots, easy on humans. And it is much easier on humans than the old CAPTCHA forms where you had to decipher the letters in the picture, if you remember that. And you could never figure it out, and you'd have to do it like 4 times, even though you are human, and you still couldn't do it right. And this is actually a better way. Usually you just check this box and it knows that you're human. Sometimes there's a little dialogue will pop up if you've submitted too many forms or something, and you'll select a picture or whatever. It's pretty easy though. Okay, so this is the form that we're going to be using in today's video, and this is the ReCaptcha form that we'll be using. So let's go ahead and get signed up on Google's website because you need an API key in order to get this set up. So let's go ahead and get that started on the ReCaptcha form, and then I'll talk about the application I've got set up for you guys and what we're going to do, and we'll dive in. Okay, so go on over. I'm going to have this link in the description if you need it, but it's going to be google.com/ReCaptcha. And once you're here on the homepage, you can click Get ReCaptcha. If you're going to need a Google account, obviously, you'll log into that, and I'm already logged in. And then it'll have all your ReCaptcha API keys. All right, now we're going to create a new one for this, and you probably need to create a new one as well. What you need to do is you basically create an API key for any group of websites you want. So we're going to call this API key test, is what we're going to call it. And then we put all the domains for our websites that we're going to be using it on. Now for us, we're just going to be using it on localhost. So we're going to do localhost. And for Google, you have to do a capital L for localhost. I ran into this problem earlier while testing this. So make sure you do it like this, localhost with a capital L. And then that's all we need. If you had another website like devmarketer.io, you could do that as well. But we're just going to do localhost because you can have multiple on there. Okay, so let's click register, and we clicked register, and now we have our API keys. We're set up and ready to go. Now let's go on over to our application real quick. I want to show you the application we'll be using, and then we'll come back over here and add this into the application. Okay, so I've got an application set up for you guys, and you can actually download our starter application over on GitHub. I've got the ReCaptcha thing set up, and I'll have this again linked in the description. And once you're over here, you're going to want to click on the releases. There should be 3 releases by the time you guys see it. And then there's going to be a new release that I haven't got set up yet, but it'll say starter pack. Okay, and the starter pack is going to be the basic application that we have set up right here. It's going to be this application that we're going to start with, and that way you can follow along with me. Okay, so it's going to have all the basic. I made a couple views for you guys. There's a couple routes already made. It's got everything that I'm starting with right now, and you guys can just download it off GitHub, and then you can just follow along with me. Okay, so making it really easy. So make sure that if you want to follow along, go over to GitHub and download it. There'll be another. It'll say starter pack, which it's not up yet, but it'll be up soon, and you can just download the source code, or you can clone it from GitHub, whichever you want. Okay, once you have that, you're going to have, this is what the project's going to look like. So this is what we've got so far from the beginning with the starter pack. It says, who are you? You'll notice we're on the home page here. And we're going to put in our name. We'll put in our name into the form. We can choose our gender. and then we click say my name, and then it says your name. It says hello Alex Curtis, and it's got your picture of a man. If you click female, it does a picture of a female. Okay, so that's our application, really basic, obviously, but we're just going to be we're going to demonstrate how to add a reCaptcha to this form. And so we're going to be adding the reCaptcha in here, and so that's kind of the point of the application. All right, real quick before we get started, let's just take a look at the application. It's a really basic Laravel application. It runs on 5.2, and if you look in our side of our controllers, I've got one controller set up. There's only two functions. There's the get form, which is the get request that displays the form. And then there's the post request, which is the post the form. This one brings in the request, processes the data, it grabs the name, grabs the gender, and then it returns another view called name, and it passes in the name and the gender, okay? And then if we go over to our resources and our views, in that name, this is the name view, you can see that it says hello and it outputs your name. And then it determines which gender you are to show the different images, man, woman, or robot. And that's all that one does. And then obviously we got a form here in our form.blade. That's the who are you form. And then we've got our template file here, which has Bootstrap and a few basic things, okay? That's basically all it comes with. And it's got two route files for the get form and for the post form. And that's it, okay? So that's our basic application. That's what comes with the starter pack that you can download off GitHub. All right, all of that is out of the way. Now let's actually start coding. Let's head back on over to Google, and let's go to the Google ReCaptcha. And here it says you can add Google ReCaptcha to your form. It gives you the key and the site key and the secret key. And then it tells you here how to put it in on the client side, okay? So basically we need to download this script. And this script is just the Recaptcha API JavaScript. So we just need to put this at the top of our application. So let's go ahead and install it. Let's copy this and let's head over to our Laravel application. And we're going to go to our template file. So we're going to go to resources, views, and app.blade.php. That's the template file. And we're just going to put it in here. This is our bootstrap. We're going to put it right below the bootstrap, just like that. I guess you actually probably would do it in the bottom. Let's do that down there. Let's put it up here because we're actually putting it. Let's put it at the top. It says, I think, to put it at the top, if I remember right. Yeah, you got to put it says to put it at the top. Okay, so we just put it here at the top below our CSS file, and it just pulls in the JavaScript API. All right. Next, we come over here and we can paste. It says paste this into the form where you want it to appear, and this already has our secret key in it. Okay, so that's kind of nice. So let's copy this, and this will actually be the form. So let's put this into our application. And we're going to put it into our form. So let's go over to our form.blade.php. We're going to put it between the button. This is the button right here. And this is the select. And we're going to put it in the middle like that. Let's go ahead and click save. And we're just going to open it in the browser real fast. So we're going to go back over to our browser and refresh. And now you can see that it's got the reCaptcha in there. So it says I'm a robot. We can click it. It verifies if we're a robot or not. I've done this so many times that I actually have to verify. But usually you don't need to. Select all the images with street numbers. So you just have to click them and like that. So it's actually pretty easy. It's not as bad. This one's taking longer than usual. It's not as bad as the old ones were. You click verify and you get the checkbox, okay? And now it's supposedly verified us, okay? Okay, now, so if we wanted to see how this works in reality, basically what happens here is when we check this box, it creates a secret field called Recaptcha response, okay? And it actually then submits this long token with our form. And that's what we're going to use to verify that it was submitted correctly. All right, so there's a couple ways that you can verify how this works. There's what I'm calling a basic way. And the basic way is basically whether or not there's that token, it has been placed in the footer, okay? So if we go ahead and look at the inspect, let me just show you real quick. So we're going to inspect the element. We come down here, and in our form, under the reCaptcha, you'll see that there's this text field that's been created, this text area right here. So this text area is called Recaptcha response. And when we verify ourselves and submit the form, we need to submit all the pies. And then, is that a pie or a cake? It's hard to tell. I think it's technically a pie. It's, no? I think that was technically a cake, but it thinks it's a pie. So anyway, inside, what's going to happen now that it's verified us, it's going to create a long, super long token. And when we submit this, it's actually going to fill in this text area with that long token, okay? So then we can check on the back end and see if that text field has a token. And if it does have a token, then we can assume that they were verified as human. Now that's the basic way of doing it. Now the advanced way of doing this is that Google actually has an API where you can double check to make sure that someone didn't just fake that long token just to have something in there. And you can actually verify that the token you receive on the back end, on the server side, is the same one that Google gave out to the client, if that makes sense, okay? So when I click this and I click the check this box, Google generates a token for me and assigns that token to me, and it can only be used one time. If you try to check the same token more than once, it actually comes back with an error. Okay, so it'll generate this token. When I click say my name, it's gonna submit it in this text area here, so it'll be available in my post request where I can find that token. So just to kind of show that, let's go ahead and let's go back over to Laravel and let's go into our controller. And in our pages controller, we're going to actually grab that token. So let's make a variable called token, and we're going to grab request input and then the name of the token is stored in. And it's stored in Recaptcha response. Now you might wonder why I'm not using this shorthand, and it's just because of these hyphens, it doesn't allow the shorthand, so we have to do it the long way. Okay, we have to use the input right here. Okay, so with this, we've got the token, and let's go ahead and just try this. We're gonna submit it, and we're gonna use something called die dump and just output the token. All right, so let's go ahead and do that. We're gonna come back over here. Let's refresh our page, and let's first of all submit it without submitting the to Google that we're not a robot. So we're gonna click say my name, and you can see that nothing gets output. There's no token. It's completely empty. And that's one way that we can know that someone did not fill out the form. Now, if we come back and we're going to refresh this again, and now we're going to check that we're not a robot. We have to select all the trees. Okay. I think that's all. All right. So now we're not a robot. And now when we click say my name, it's actually giving us now the long token. So this is the super long token that we have. So now one way that we can do it from the basic ways, we can double check to see if there's a token available. And if there is a token, then we can assume that it was filled out and correct, okay? Because if they didn't submit that if they didn't check the box, then there wouldn't be a token, okay? So let me show you real quick how to do that. That's what I'm calling the basic way. And if you want to download the source code for the basic way, that's going to be in our in this repository under basic, okay? And that's going to be the source code for that. Okay, so let's come back over here and let's go to our Sublime. And in our controller, so pages controller, let's grab this token. So we've got the token here, and we grab this G Recaptcha response token. And what we can do here is we can just say if token, so if the token, okay, so we can actually say, hey, if the str length, so let's grab str length of the token is greater than 0, then we know it was successfully submitted. Now, we don't actually know, we're just assuming that it was submitted. So this is kind of the basic level of authentication. We're assuming that it was probably submitted. However, it's not 100% certain that that someone didn't actually fake it, because what they could do is they could, not through the user interface, but if someone was trying to hack in, they could basically autofill that text area. And as long as there's at least one character inside that hidden text area, then this would think that a robot or that a human submitted the form. So it's not 100% accurate, but it's a basic way of doing it if you want it to do it the easy way, okay? Not 100% secure, but we could do it that way. So basically if we wanted, this is the basic way of doing it. We can basically bring up and say, okay, so if we know the length of the token is more than 0 characters, so if there's at least 1 character in it, then we're going to return the view with the name view. Otherwise, what we would do is we would just redirect to the home page. And we need to do a return here. Return, redirect. Okay, so let's save that. And now if we come over here and we submit the form. Oh, line 21, we got an error. 21. Okay, so now we've got our form here, and we can go ahead and fill it out. I'm going to say my name's Alex, male, and we're going to go ahead and not check the box. Okay, so what we would expect now is that it redirects us back to the form. So we're going to click this, and sure enough, it redirected us back to the form. And you guys should understand why we did that, because it's because the length of this token was greater than 0, and so, or was not greater than 0. It was empty, and so it just returned to the redirect. All right. Now, of course, the easier way to do this, we could actually just submit if it was a token, because if it were equal to 0, then it would actually come back as a falsy value. So you could actually do this as well. You could just say, hey, if there's anything in the token, then we would return to the name. Otherwise, we redirect. So let's try that. We refresh. We click submit. It redirects us because it wants us to submit the form. Now, we could create a session as well. So you had a message at the top. You just create a flash message, but I'm not going to do that right now. Okay, so now let's go ahead and verify that we're not a robot. A construction vehicle. Let's click all the construction vehicles and click verify. All right, and now we're going to say my name, and now it worked correctly, okay? So we checked the box, and now it lets us work in. It's not 100% secure, but it works, okay? That's the basic way that you can submit a CAPTCHA form. Now let's go on, and I'm going to show you one more kind of step towards making this better, and that's that we're going to now actually add a if we're going to use JavaScript, or jQuery is what we're going to use, and we're going to not allow the button to submit the form unless it thinks it's a robot. Again, this adds a little more security to our application, because now they can't even submit the form unless they've checked the box. But because it does just use JavaScript, they could always disable JavaScript and try to get around it. So it's a level of extra security, but not 100% secure. It does improve the user experience though as well. So we're going to make sure that if they haven't checked the box yet, that we're not going to allow them to submit the form. So let's go ahead and talk about that. And again, this is going to use a little bit of JavaScript. So this will be something new for some of you. All right, now to add that level of JavaScript so that the form doesn't submit until someone is verified that they're human, in order to add that, we're going to be using the JavaScript, or actually jQuery. Now, if you come over to our app.blade under the views, so this is our template file, you can see I already have JavaScript, or I already have jQuery installed down here for you. That just came with the Bootstrap. And now we're going to go ahead and add a script tag, just a basic script tag, and we're going to add our JavaScript inside of here. Okay, so we're going to first of all use the document onload method for jQuery. So it's just a basic function basically. And this way it only runs after jQuery is loaded, which is going to be important for us. Okay, so from inside of here, what we can do is we're going to actually target the form. So we're going to grab the ID of form, and if you go over to our form, you can see that in our form we have an ID of form for that targets the whole form. Okay, so this way we grab our form with jQuery, and we're going to use the submit. This way it gets targeted on submit. Okay, so when they try to submit the form, we're going to call this function. Let's go ahead and get that set up. Okay, make sure we pass in the event here so that we can work with the form. And then we're going to create a variable called verified. And we're going to set verified equal to, and this is now using that JavaScript API that we installed up at the top right here. This is a function that we get, which is Recaptcha. Just make sure we spell it right. I'm just double checking. Yep. And then we're going to use get response. Okay, and this is actually going to go to, it's going to ask Google for that response token that we got. And this way we know if verified has something in it, verified will basically be set equal to that token. Okay, so even though the token hasn't been filled into the form yet, this is looking to make sure that Google has allocated that code. It goes out to Google, gets the response, basically grabbing that code and putting it into this verified variable. Okay, now that we have that verified variable, we can just say if, and we'll use if verified. So if verified, and we'll do the same thing we did before, which is length is equal to 0. We'll do some strict equals there. And, oh, hold on. We've got to, let's just undo this. We did a blade. We accidentally did a blade one. Okay, so let's do JavaScript. We did if verified. Perfect. If verified dot length. This grabs the length attribute for verified. And we're sending it, remember, do triple is equal sign. If it's equal to 0, then we know that there's nothing in there yet. And that's when we can do event prevent default. Now, prevent default is the function that actually prevents the form from being submitted. All right, so we're checking to see if it's empty, basically, if verified.length is empty. And if it's empty, then we prevent it from submitting the form. And if it's not empty, if there's some sort of token, then we're going to let them submit the form. So we're not going to do anything. Okay, so that's basically all it takes. And with that, we actually now have added kind of a second layer to our form as far as security is concerned. So I've gone ahead and saved that. Let's head back over to our application and refresh. And now we're going to try to submit the form. And you can see that before, at least, it let us submit the form. But now it's not letting us submit the form at all. Okay, it's preventing that from happening. And we're going to go ahead and click I'm not a robot. And now it should let us submit the form. So we got to click all the oranges. I think that's all of them. Verify. We're going to say Christina. And we're going to click say my name. And now it says hello Christina with a name, with a female picture. Okay. So now it's working. We got that second layer of security. Again, if we try to submit the form without having checked the box, it doesn't let us do it anymore. Okay. That's kind of tier 3 or tier 2 in our advanced, or in our level of security for our reCaptcha. All right, so actually with that, we're going to go ahead and end this video, but the next video is going to go on and show you the more advanced method for verifying that this person is actually who they say they are, that they're not a robot. And this method is going to be one that I highly recommend you go out and watch, because we're actually going to bring in something called Guzzle, which is a PHP library that allows us to talk to an external API. And we're going to then, when we submit the form, on the server side, we're then going to collect the information, but instead of just randomly verifying that there was a token that's only kind of, valid, we're actually going to take that token, we're going to send it via an API request to Google, and Google's going to verify that the token that we got on the server side is the same as the one that they got when they sent it to the client side, okay? So it's a very advanced method as far as verifying that the person, or a very secure method is really what I should say more than advanced. It's a very secure method of ensuring that the person that submitted the form is the one that verified that they were not a robot through the CAPTCHA. And the other nice thing is the token only lasts for one request. So as soon as it's been verified, it becomes no longer valid. So it's just a very secure way of submitting the form. And that's what we'll be doing in the next video, is we'll be talking not only about how to implement that on the server side, but then also how to bring in the Guzzle PHP library so that we can then use it to submit an API request to Google. So that'll be a good video. That's the next part. Be sure to stop over there and watch it. If you guys have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, I'll see you guys all in the next video.